Okay, we're just back from the B.F.E GP out in High Plains Raceway outside of Denver.
Yeah, and I am here. This is Nick. This is Armand and Lisa. If you guys have ever done a race on the West Coast, you've seen these guys 100 times, and we're finally getting them on the video.
Rich Von Snydern and Rocket Surgery Racing did a great Monty Python theme.
Hella sweet.
So in this part of Colorado, there's always exciting weather. The racers seem to enjoy the short but terrifyingly violent storms. So I guess we wouldn't qualify that as but terrible, but it's not hella sweet.
There are a lot of teams that came from a long way away to do this race. Phil made this map. As you can see, there are 14 states represented. Team from California won overall, and the 47 Plymouth came from Indiana.
Nice.
The bachelor party Buick Riviera, this sure beats wedding planning team, decided to make a bachelor party out of racing a 300,000-mile supercharged Riviera. They had a good chance of winning the organizer's choice, but you must be present to win.
Hella sweet was a Volvo 940 Turbo done up as the Mystery Machine. We've had like 7 Mystery Machine cars at Lemons, but it doesn't get old. It was executed well, but the car was very slow on track.
Also hella sweet, there was a super clean Datsun 280ZX brought by Polished Turd Racing. Now this thing was immaculate, and it had super shiny paint, and it was butt slow.
$500 my ass.
Why, you ruin classic. And they had a pretty sweet yachting theme. Get it? Miata?
Nice. So a bunch of Judge Phil's wife's co-workers put together a team with the old Tommy Boy Ford Escort. They did a pretty good Blucifer theme. Blucifer is that big blue airport horse statue outside of the Denver airport. They were unaware of previous Blucifer themes.
Yeah, there have been several.
They're noobs.
Now, it's sometimes the case with Lemons teams that they'll push the limits of good taste with their themes, and this team came with a bit of Utah humor and a Warren Jeffs theme. We'll let you Google it.
There was a team called the Balkan Express that decided to pander to Phil by turning their Honda Civic into a Yugo and then decorating it with a theme of Yugoslavian ex-dictator Marshal Tito. They also had Slavic squatting in tracksuits, Silvovets, and Yugoslavian cash bribes.
We make this happen, we get into place, yes? We get into place, you know what I'm saying? Yes. I think we do see, yes?
Salty Thunder Racing showed up with a pair of Fieros and a new theme, Gorgeous Racers of Wrestling theme. They got the usual band of suspects and came with stories, wrestling costumes, and finishing moves.
I don't have to take any of this crap. I want to finish you with my finishing move, the recall!
Recall? You know nothing about recalls.
So there was a Toyota MR2 with an A&W root beer theme called Sassafras We Suck Ass Racing. We're not really sure how it worked, but we like the name.
Now, for several years, the Petrosexual Racing team has been bringing SpaghettiOs as bribes for the judges. They've started out with loose SpaghettiOs in a plastic shopping bag, then they went to a giant thrift store suitcase filled with SpaghettiOs. This time they brought sealed beer cans that when you crack them open, SpaghettiOs.
Hella sweet.
Hella nasty. The Class C winner, 370,000-mile Tacoma, was Pizza Planet 413. So the team captain's dad had this 95 Tacoma as his daily driver. Got into a wreck in a church parking lot and totaled it. So they straightened it out,
Sort of.
mostly, and turned it into their Lemons car. So the 4-cylinder, 5-speed truck was ungodly slow. But it was proof that a Toyota will run in Lemons if you don't beat on it.
Okay, the Life of the Party award went to 3 Under Par Racing. They have a BMW 2002 and a 320i for double the M10 goodness.
It's ultimate driving machines.
It is. So they're the ones that had that scary 2002 crash at HPR a few years back, and their cars shockingly seem to break, well, constantly. And this time, instead of focusing on the car, they brought a wood-fired pizza oven. They made about 50 pizzas for the paddock party. They didn't stop until they ran out of dough. It was hella sweet.
So all Ford small block V8s are exactly the same, right?
I think so.
Well, this team called Pole Position had a 91 Mustang, and they blew it up, and they went on Craigslist, and hey, here's a mid-60s 289. It's basically the same thing. So they went and they bought this engine, and while everybody else is eating wood-fired pizza from the BMW guys. They're trying to do this swap. None of the parts are interchangeable at all, and it just didn't work.
Heroic Fix went to Why Would You Do That Racing. This is the team with the turbo Volvo engine in the Chevette. The engine exploded at full boost at the end of the straight.
Yeah, it was about 22 laps into the race. It was the most holes I've ever seen
In an engine block.
So the team went on Craigslist. They bought a couple of Volvo Marine engines. They went home and brought back a couple of partially assembled engines. They got another Volvo long block from the team running a 940, and they spent from early Saturday until about half an hour after the awards ceremony building one good engine from about 10 bad engines. It started up and worked, sort of. We had never seen so many broken engine parts in a Lemmings paddock space until this, so it had to be Heroic Fix.
I Got Screwed went to Gem Besties Racing. This team is based in Colorado, but a couple of weeks ago, they went all the way out to Thunderhill for the race out there in California, and on the way back, they blew up like 4 different tow vehicles in the 3-day drive. They reached the lowest possible point of tow vehicle levels, which is the wife's X5. They made it back eventually somehow, and they showed up at this race. They were actually doing really well. They were like seconds behind the leader and eventual winner, and then they broke and blew up and went home. They got screwed.
Organizer's choice went to Gutless Cutlass Racing. So this Minnesota team has the old gray G-body Cutlass.
Now, that team went back several years, but that gray Cutlass got hella smashed up. So they managed to find themselves a different terrible Oldsmobile G-body Cutlass Supreme Brougham. This one had a 307 V8 in it.
Old 307, no shit.
Yeah, for this race, they had a High Plains Drifter theme with every team member dressed up as Clint Eastwood, but during the race, they immediately blew up the Oldsmobile 307.
No shit.
They thought it was the oil pump. They replaced the oil pump. It was not the oil pump.
So our regional trophy was for the Wonderment Consortium. They brought one of 900 Isuzu Impulse RSs made.
Why You Ruin Classic.
That's the one tuned by Lotus.
Uh-huh.
It's a overwhelmingly terrible car, but very rare. So we gave them the Rare and Valuable Vehicle Award.
The IOE went to Tommy Salami and the Meat Wagon. Now, this requires a little bit of background. This is a team based in Texas or Oklahoma, and they raced a Pinto wagon at MSR last year. They blew it up, but on site at MSR, somebody was selling a Pontiac Le Mans. Now, this, of course, is the badge engineered. I think it was built by Daewoo, but it was sold as virtually everything under the GM umbrella as a worldwide car. So after that MSR race, this Pinto team bought this Le Mans and said, yep, we're bringing this to a future Lemons race.
The team captain then spent 10 months and probably $1,000 tracking down all the badges and accessories from every version of this Daewoo Le Mans in the world.
Including, but not limited to, the Daewoo Racer,
Pontiac Le Mans,
Opel Kadett,
Vauxhall Astra,
Bedford Astra,
Asuna GT,
Passport Optima,
Daewoo Fantasy.
etc.
The spoiler came from the South African market special, the Opel Kadett GSI Super Boss. He found a Daewoo boombox for playing K-pop. The car was painted and badged to represent all the versions. The team dressed up in costumes representing all the versions. The seller of the car ended up joining the team. Then the car went out and ran perfectly on the original 370,000 mile engine, finishing well into the top half of the standings. Slam dunk IOE.
You know, now that you mentioned that car had 370,000 miles, that's the second car in this race that had 370,000 miles. The first being that Toyota Tacoma.
So that means that the Daewoo Le Mans is just as reliable as a Toyota Tacoma.
You heard it here first. Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
This is an Oldsmobile 307. No shit.
This is actually not as long as it looks. I'm gonna try this one.
It's okay, buddy. It's the whole experience.
Yeah.
It's not the size.
It's not about the size. It's like a whole experience.
Sure. Alrighty.
It's an experiential lifestyle brand.
Uh-huh.
Explain, what is this you're doing?
It's a shoey. It's a bag. It's a shoey. Here on these high plains, there exists to be so foul, so rude. If you cross his path, nay, if you steal his line, he'll rip your head off.
You know, after a long, hard day in the Colorado sun, sweating and inspecting cheaty race cars, I like to end my day by opening up my Pontiac Aztec cooler, breaking out a nice cold Bofferding, and having that taste of Luxembourg that refreshes.
And now, Derek here, our lovely gate man, come here, Derek. He's going to demonstrate the latest Petrosexuals racing way of dispensing SpaghettiOs. This is a can of Judge Phil Penalty Ale, and here's what it actually is. You'll know that.